We're back. Steelers are back in business. We saw exactly what we needed to see from this first-team offense and even the first-team defense, even though I didn't think we needed to see much more from the first-team defense in this final preseason game because they looked pretty damn good throughout the first two preseason games. And that's without TJ Watt being out there. He didn't play in any of these preseason games. Alex Highsmith wasn't out there at all either in the first two games, nor in this one. Shout out to Nick Herbig. Minkah Fitzpatrick, I didn't see him out there today. I don't think he played, but he played in the second one. He wasn't out there for the first one. JPJ didn't play in this one. Like the defense, the first team defense has been pretty steady throughout this preseason. We didn't have any complaints about them to begin with, but they continued in this game and played off of their good performances in the first two preseason games. So shout out to them. Offense, though, we know it was pretty abysmal against the Texans and against the Bills for our starters. This game, it was looking like Kenny Pickett preseason time, man. 2 drives, 2 touchdowns. We're up 14-0 right off the bat. And we saw what we needed to see from Russell Wilson in that first series, so much so that we sat him down just off that. One series, and he only threw the ball 2 times for 26 yards. But I think really Tomlin saw all he needed to see, and as a fan, I saw all I needed to see too. That 3rd and long rope that he threw to Pickens, it's like, okay. Yeah, that's vintage Russ. He didn't lose any arm strength. He still got it. If he gets the time, if we can protect for him, that's what we're capable of right there. And what made it better was that it was on a 3rd and long. And it was after our first 2 plays in that series on 1st down and 2nd down weren't good. I think we ran it. What did we do? Run it right up the middle into nothing, brick wall. And then Russ throws it to Pickens, throws a lateral pass to Pickens, and he gets touchdown 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage. So it's like a 3rd and 12 or a 3rd and 13. And the offense is looking exactly like what it did against the Bills. It's just like, oh, here we go again. I guess we're not getting any improvements. But then Russ delivers that strike to Pickens, and you're just thinking to yourself, okay, this is franchise quarterback type of stuff. This is vintage Russ type of stuff. When your offense gets in a bind, no matter what down it is or how far away from your first down, you always feel like you got a chance. That's what Mahomes is capable of. That's what a Burrow's capable of, a Justin Herbert, Russell Wilson back in the day in Seattle. And even we saw some flashes of that with Denver. We saw some crazy highlight plays from Russ. I mean, he just didn't throw 26 touchdowns for nothing. You know, like he was making some plays. He was one of the top quarterbacks in the red zone last year. But it just wasn't exactly to that degree that we saw in Seattle. But if this preseason game was any indication of what we could be seeing from Russ this year, then I think we're in good hands. And clearly, it was always Russ to be the starter ever since OTAs, ever since we signed Russ, probably, ever since we traded Kenny. Ever since we traded Kenny, he was pissed off that we brought Russ in here, and Russ was the only quarterback. We ended up trading for Fields. We bring in Kyle Allen as the 3rd stringer. Ever since that, I guess that would have been late March, early April, Russ was going to be QB1. I think with how we handled him all the way through this offseason, from OTAs to training camp, these preseason games, how we had him sit out because of the calf, even though he said he was good to go. We were extremely cautious. That was all due to Tomlin's extreme faith in Russell Wilson being QB1. And again, this was another indicator of that. I think it completely closes the book. Russ goes out there, throws 2 passes, offense scores a touchdown in the first series, and that's that. That's that. We don't need to see anymore. Let's just stay healthy and get into this week 1 against the Falcons as healthy as we can be. As healthy as we can be. We know who our starters are, both on offense and in defense. We're ready to ride. But who's stopping through in the chat today? Got to give a shout out. We got Quan Summer here. saying no matter what happened, Russ was going to start. Yeah, you agree with me. Absolutely. He also brings up Ryan Watts. Yeah, he went down with an injury like with 2 plays to go to end the game. Absolutely crazy. Prayers up to him, but it looks like he's going to be okay. But yeah, thanks for putting that in the chat because that wasn't looking too good. But he was able to get up, walk to the locker room. So prayers up to Ryan Watts. Obviously, he was having a good camp. We have some high hopes for him, but just also terrible that took place with literally 2 plays left to go in the game, and they were meaningless. The Lions were just going to run out the clock. Tyler Minnick's in the house. Was good, man. Terry 973. Ask any concerns long term about Broderick. I'll get to that in a little bit. I'll talk more about this game and some of the players in the game, O-line, that type of stuff. We'll go through like each aspect of it and talk more nuanced stuff as we go throughout this stream. Good question. And then we got Hunter Ransom stopping through saying he's feeling good about the season. Quan Summer brings up a good point here. 3rd and 4th teams were terrible. Yeah, they were. They were. Yep. But I think we saw what we needed to see in terms of the first team being out there. Get up 14-0. First team defense looked good. First team offense looked good. Get in, get out. That's fine. That's all we really needed to see. Again, I said this last week. You would like to see our 3rd and 4th stringers looking better than what they do, but we're not going to see any of these guys. I mean, outside of Beanie Bishop, and obviously Cam Sutton was out there, but we're not going to see him for the first 8 weeks of the season. Outside of Beanie Bishop, a Cam Sutton, and a Ryan Watts, I don't know what dudes on those 3rd and 4th string defenses we're going to be seeing out there, like in meaningful snaps and actual time in the regular season. I think most of those guys are going to be cut. And then on offense, you could probably say the same thing. Once we were getting into the 3rd and 4th quarter, we're really not going to be seeing any of those guys. Maybe Des Fitzpatrick makes the team or Quez Watkins. I think the final receiver spot is going to come down to those 2 players. But who else? I mean, those running backs, they're not going to have a chance with Jaylen Warren saying he's going to be ready to go week 1. Najee Harris, obviously, and Cordarrelle Patterson. And shout out to Cordarrelle Patterson. What a nice run. Start off the game, man. Shows that he might still have a little gas left in the tank. Took it to the house, too. Outran the second level of the Detroit defense. I don't think they really had their starters out there like that, so I guess you could take it with a grain of salt. But Patterson looked good. He looked real good. Let me read a couple more chats, and then I'll get into more with this game. Oh, we got a good question here. Terry 973. At this point, is Herbig better than Highsmith? I would say better rusher, but a worse run defender. That might actually be fair. That really might be fair. And it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. I was texting some of my buddies throughout the game, especially in that first half, and we're talking about Herbig. And it just doesn't make sense with his size. It really doesn't. Like, how is he doing this? And then at one point, the Lions were double teaming him, but he was still getting to the quarterback. He had 2 sacks, had the strip sack, just game changer. I think there was 1 or 2 plays, too, that he didn't even get to the quarterback, but affected the play. Man, I get it's just preseason, but every time we see Herbig out there, he's doing stuff like this, whether it was last preseason or it's the regular season last year and the limited time that he got. Now it seems like he's taking it up and even another level, another notch. Maybe it wouldn't have been stupid for the Steelers to include Alex Highsmith in a Brandon Ayuk trade. I kid. I'm joking a little bit, but I'm also kind of serious after seeing Nick Herbig here. I still don't think you make the Highsmith move for Ayuk because I think him being here with a Herbig, with a TJ Watt, that rotation, whatever it's going to be, is still more valuable than what Ayuk's going to bring to the table. Maybe. I don't know though. Like, man, I mean, if you get Herbig playing like this across from TJ Watt, yeah, I guess it is fair to question if you really need a Highsmith like that. Whereas Ayuk would be your other dynamic receiver across from Pickens, your solid wide receiver too, really wide receiver 1A, 1B whoever you want to call it between him and Pickens. But Quan Summer says Trice is injured. When did that happen? Because Trice looked really good today. Trice has looked good every time he's out on the field. He looks like he can be a guy across from Joey Porter Jr. long term. Oh, I disagree with this. Bowfly Steel says this is going to be a rough year. Offense doesn't scare anyone. I disagree, man. I really disagree. I know it looked brutal these first two preseason games, but you also got to look at them as preseason games. We got a whole new coordinator here. We got a whole new offensive line, new quarterbacks, just a whole new system and everything, right? So you got to understand it might not be perfect the first time out, especially too with Russ being limited all throughout training camp. And he wasn't even, how about Tomlin dropped that report on us during the week when he was doing the press conference that Russ wasn't even supposed to be out there last preseason game, but Russ insisted. He was like, even though this isn't going to be set up for me, I know we don't have plays designed. This isn't schemed up. Just put me out there. I want to get some work. And maybe that explains why the offense looked a little bit like it did against the Bills. But also at the same time, whenever I said it in the middle of the week, all right, no, it wasn't the middle of the week. It was on Monday, a couple of days removed from the last preseason game. I said, man, after watching it back, it actually wasn't as bad as what we're making it seem. It wasn't great, but it wasn't as bad. When you're just talking about the quarterbacks, the offense as a whole, yeah, sure. I mean, it wasn't pretty, but the offensive line didn't give Russ time. The running game didn't help out Russ either. We didn't get any yards on the ground. And yeah, you're going to get that type of result. I mean, but Russ still took care of the ball. I think he was in more command of it than a Justin Fields last week. And I think this is what we needed to see this game. We didn't need to see it all. We didn't need to see Russ be out there for 3 series and go 3 for 3 with the offense, 3 touchdowns or anything like that. But like, it would have been nice. I'm not going to front. It would have got us hyped. We would have been retweeting touchdown highlights and all that stuff. But I think this is what we really need to see right here. Don't give the opposition too much of what we're going to be running, but show that we're comfortable with each other out there as a first team unit. Show that we got a little bit of rhythm, we got a little bit of momentum heading into week 1 here, but let's not go overboard with it because this game is still meaningless. No reason to be out there for longer than what we have to risk injury. So I think this was actually, in my opinion, the perfect scenario for the first team offense and also the first team defense, because I think we're fully healthy on both sides right now. I know Jaylen Warren, he's recovering, but he said he's going to be ready week 1. Peyton Wilson, we held him out in this game as extra precaution, but he said he was cleared through the concussion protocol middle of the week. But I like that we held him out. I really do. But we got 2 weeks from now till week 1. He'll be good to go. Any other questions? Any other injury questions, concerns? Russ's calf's good. I guess you could talk about Fautanu, but I don't think we're going to be starting with him. I think it's going to be Broderick Jones. And going back to that question about Broderick Jones, he looked better. The offensive line as a whole looked better early on. And again, that's exactly what you wanted to see. You didn't need to see everything. You didn't need to see us completely dominating and having the first team offense out there for 4 series and running it up. Nah, this is all we need to see, man. Just we got a little bit of chemistry. We got a little bit of momentum. We showed the fans a little something to give us hope, give us some excitement that we're actually going to be competent. It isn't just going to be an absolute crap show out there. I think we got exactly what we needed here. Exactly. Monstall Mays asks, I have a question. Why didn't your guy Kenny Pickett play good today? I don't know. I wasn't paying attention to what Kenny Pickett did. I know a lot of you guys probably don't believe that, but I was watching the Steelers, man. What did Kenny Pickett do? I don't even know. It seems like you had a wandering eye. You wanted to check on the X, you know? S. Harris 91 is ripping on Isaiah Loudermilk out here, saying he's trash. I don't know. Did he really play that bad? I thought he had a nice rush. He jumped up. It would have been his sack, but I think Hooker still in at the time. He evaded Loudermilk's rush, but then ran into Welshkoff. So he affected the play there. I don't really remember many other plays from him though throughout the course of this game. So you might have a point. I don't think his game outside of that one play was too memorable. So let's stick with the offense here. Let's shout out Fields, because not only did we score right off the bat with a Russ-led offense, next series out, we got a touchdown too with Justin Fields. He looked more in command. He looked way more comfortable, was making some nice throws and like immediately making quick reads. That one up the middle to, I think it was Pruitt. And I'm gonna botch this. I think no, I think I can get it. I'm trying to not spell out the word, to pronounce out this word. Anticipatory. I was about to botch it there, but I had to settle down. Anticipatory throw. It was a really nice one to Michael Pruitt. And yeah, led the offense to a scoring drive. And good part of it was because of Fields. Like, I know he wasn't the one that punched it in, but it was one of those read option plays. He handed it off to P. Ryan, and he gets in for a walk-in touchdown. He picked up the first down with his legs too. 3 for 4, 40 yards passing. I liked what I saw from Fields. It's just unfortunate that my man can't catch a break with the snaps, dude. I feel this one is on Frazier. Batch was saying it in the booth that Fields was trying to make some type of check. He raised his arm up, and I think Frazier, seeing Fields do some type of motion, he was on the silent snap count. He just rushed it and threw the snap. But I guess salute to Fields for picking it up and securing the ball and not causing a turnover there, at least trying to make the best of that bad snap by Frazier. And he actually almost broke like 2 or 3 tackles there. I thought he was going to get a chance to actually throw the ball. You could see he was trying to, but thought better of it. So yeah, if anything, you really can say that was a positive play by Fields, even though it doesn't look good because it was another ball on the ground. We know that was more on Frazier, but of course it happened while Fields was in there, right? Almost like the Mason Rudolph effect with Fields right now. Murphy's Law, what can go wrong will go wrong, even if it isn't his fault. Whenever he's out there, something weird, something janky is going to happen. Because with Mason, that's how we felt every time Mason was out there in these preseason games, these last 2-3 years, or even any time he was out there, he had to do that spot start for Ben in the Lions game in the regular season a few years back in 2021. Like, for the most part of the game, he was all right. We were in it. And then we got a chance to win it in overtime, and Kendrick Green snapping the ball over his head, and goofy stuff's happening. Pat Fryermuth's fumbling the ball. It's like, it ain't on Mason, but Mason's out there, and it doesn't feel good, Kendrick Green last year, whenever he got in the game, and Mason was the quarterback. Kendrick Green is just letting dudes fly by him, and Mason's getting jacked up. It's like, damn, man, Mason can't catch a break. Every time something goes wrong. Bad snaps to Mason, and then it's just feeling that same way. It's got those same vibes for Fields too, unfortunately. But I think he looked good. This was a step in the right direction for Fields. First preseason game was a positive. Outside of those bad snaps, who do you blame on the snaps? Quarterbacks are saying it's on Fields. The fans were saying it was on Herbig at the time. They probably were on Fields if you got all the quarterbacks out there that are analyzing football saying like Fields got to move with the snap. He's got to move with the center. But when he was passing, I thought he looked good. But last preseason game, step back for sure. Threw a couple errant balls. Just didn't look as in command or as comfortable as the first preseason game or in this one. But this one was definitely a step in the right direction for him. Shout out to Fields there. Got to give a salute. Because he looked good. I thought he looked good. Russ looked good. Fields looked good. First team and second team offense was solid in the first 2 halves. Or not first 2 halves, in the first half. In the first 2 quarters, excuse me. So let me read some more chats before I delve into the defense and who will shout out on the defense. Quan Summer says, Coach T said we got to find something for Plumlee. That's actually a note that I had down in the bottom of my notes right here. What are we going to do at kickoff? We still haven't seen Cordarrelle Patterson yet. And I don't know if Tomlin's taken the Russ approach with that in terms of we don't need to see Cordarrelle Patterson because he's like an all-decade return man, 4-time Pro Bowler, all-pro dude. Like, we don't need to see that in preseason. But at the same time, wouldn't you have wanted to get a little glimpse of it in the last preseason game, at least one kickoff or two? Almost like with Russ in the first team offense. We got one series. It's just, a nice thing to do before you head into the regular season. Just to get some work, just to get some little momentum going, just to get some feel for it and in a game setting. Would that have been the worst idea? So I don't know if Tomlin's taking the Russ approach with Cordarrelle Patterson and just we don't even need to see it at all in the preseason. Like, he's taking it to the extreme level. We don't need to see it at all. You're going to be the main kickoff return man when the regular season comes. Don't worry about it. Or is he actually going to rock with a Plumlee? Because Plumlee's been doing all the kickoff returns. It's him. I can't remember who's lining up across from him, but Plumlee's been the main guy. Are we really going to keep him? Because what else does he do to contribute to this team, though, outside of the kick return? Like, usually, if you're going to do something like that, if you're going to keep a kick return, man, they either got to be elite at special teams and kickoff returns and punt returns. They either got to be game-breaking, or you got a guy that can contribute on offense and defense a little bit, or at least be good depth on offense and defense. A guy you can rely on, but then can do the special team stuff. It's either one or the other. And with Plumlee, he's the 4th-string quarterback, so he's not going to really contribute on offense unless he's secretly a slot corner, can play something as safety on defense that we don't know about. Mr. Versatile out here. I don't know, but obviously we didn't try him out at either of those spots in preseason or in training camp. So it looks like his only job would be kickoff return man. And I don't think, he's done admirably, but he's not elite at that at this point. So what are we doing at kickoff return? It should be Cordarrelle Patterson, but it was kind of weird. Tyler Minnick says, thought the same. Maybe he held him out of this game because of Warren. That's a good approach. Yeah, because if Patterson weirdly got injured on a kickoff, because we know kickoffs, the risk for injury, the percent chance is a little bit higher than normal plays. So if we would have put Patterson out there and he got some fluky injury, then it would have just been down to Najee as the only running back currently healthy. Again, Warren said he should be good for week 1 and everything, but yeah, maybe you didn't want to risk it. All they wanted to see was Patterson in the run game a little bit, and obviously he scored that touchdown, and that's all we needed to see with him. I like that point. I think that might have been the right approach on it, or at least what Tomlin's thinking about it behind the scenes. Bo Flash Steel says, Lions didn't play their top D. Hope Warren is good to go, too. Yeah, because I think we're going to need Warren in this offense. I really, obviously, it's arguable that he's the best running back that we have. But after seeing the run game again in this preseason game, I'm wondering. Let me know what you guys think of this take. Do we have the proper O-line right now? I'm saying going into the season, September, October. Do we have the O-line ready right now for the traditional Arthur Smith run game where we got the 3 tight ends, you got the big running back, Najee Harris, out there, and, like, you know what we're going to do. We know what we're going to do. You're just not going to be able to stop it. I don't think we're there yet. I think we got the talent on the offensive line to do it, but I don't know if the chemistry is there, the flow is there just yet, because every time we've lined up like that in the preseason, Najee's been running into a brick wall, or he's barely making something out of nothing, like carrying a pile for just like 3 or 4 yards. Like, it's tough yards that he's earning. I don't know if we're really there yet. So I'm wondering if we're going to have to be relying on Russ a little bit more in the passing game, almost like we saw in today's game where, it's 3rd and long. Let Russ cook. Like, I wonder if it's going to be less about, at least early on, it's going to be less about the early Russ days in Seattle. Like, the offense is going to be reminiscent of that. Like I predicted, I feel like that's how we got everything designed right now. You got a Russ, you got the Najee Harris, the Jaylen Warren combo, the O-line we invested heavily in. You got the big receiver in Pickens, but then a bunch of other, like, speedy guys around that can get some separation. But then you got a bunch of tight ends. That's very reminiscent of the early Seattle days. But can we do that right now with how the offensive line is looking? Or is it going to have to be more late Russ days of Seattle and let him cook, let him improvise, and let him run the show? Either way, we can win games. I just thought we were going to be more run heavy to start off the season. And we still might be. It just hasn't looked pretty in the preseason with Najee being out there. And that's why, going back to that Jaylen Warren comment, like, I think we're really going to need him because he provides that versatility. Whereas, like, when Najee's out there, you're not as dynamic as an offense. He's not as dynamic of a runner as a Jaylen Warren. He's really, really good, 3 1,000-yard years in a row, but we know Jaylen Warren helps out a ton more in the pass game. We know Jaylen Warren can take runs to the house, has more speed than a Najee Harris. I mean, you even saw it with Cordarrelle Patterson today. Najee Harris, if you're giving that ball to Najee Harris right there, he's not taking it to the house like Cordarrelle. And it's not a shot at Najee. It's just that each guy provides different elements. Hence why I said I think we're really going to be needing a Jaylen Warren. Because I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if this O-line is built for the power, 3 tight ends. Najee Harris is out there. We know we're running the ball. I don't know if it's built for that just yet. I don't. And I wonder if Arthur Smith is seeing that. I think it can be built for that. We saw how our offense looked late in these regular seasons these past 2 years. Like, we start to build up that identity. The weather gets colder, and Najee Harris starts heating up, and we become this really run-heavy team, heavy personnel team, and defenses can't stop us. But I'm wondering, like, early on in this season, if we're going to have to be a little bit more opened up. Tyler Minnick says, thought the same. Maybe no. That was the Cordarrelle Patterson comment. My bad. I'm reading that. I'm rereading that. You have a couple more. He says, past 2 games, no. This one looks slightly better. Guys just need to put it together. Yeah, on the Cordarrelle Patterson run, for sure. Things opened up there. But I don't remember how we looked. That did look like a heavier personnel. But that's almost to my point of, it was heavier personnel, and that was Cordarrelle Patterson. When defenses see a Cordarrelle Patterson, I don't think they're necessarily automatically thinking run, right? You see Najee Harris, they're thinking run. It's a little predictable, but if you win your one-on-ones and your players outduel the other team's players, particularly on the offensive line, it can work. Like, that's what Tennessee was doing. But so far in the preseason, it was more reminiscent to me, at least this run game, and how we're set up with Najee being out. A little reminiscent of, like, Canada predictability, and defenses just knowing, oh, they're going to hand it off to Najee here, clearly. So we might have to open it up a little bit more. And obviously, Jaylen Warren helps out in a more opened up offense. Let's go to defense, though. Let me give some shout outs to players on defense and what I was liking there. We're talking about Herbig. Man, he might get 10 sacks as the 3rd rusher. Man, that's all I can say. just, man, I'm kind of speechless from what we're seeing right now with him. Corey Trice was really liking him, bummed out of the comment I saw earlier saying that he's injured. That sucks. But every time he's out there, he makes plays. And he's showing that he legit is built properly as a physical corner. A pass gets thrown his way, a run gets run his way, he's making the tackle. And that's an improvement over a guy like Dante Jackson, who's more of a finesse cornerback. No shot at him, but we know his game's more built on speed and being a coverage corner, less on physicality. So if Corey Trice, he continues to make plays, he continues to make the most of the opportunities given, we're going to see him out there more often than not as the season goes. I think he's got his roster spot locked up. And now I think he's just off to the races. Hopefully he stays healthy and he's not seriously injured here. The whole defensive line, I'm not talking the third and fourth stringers. I'm talking the first team mainly, with basically everyone outside of Cam Hayward. Cam Hayward wasn't out there, but like Keanu Benton, Larry Ogunjobi, and DeMarvin Leal. These dudes look like studs. Not only you have Nick Herbig getting after the quarterback, these guys are right there too, causing havoc, wreaking havoc. So I'm really excited about that. Like I think we're going to be able to count on those top four. It's not just going to be the top two, the guys that we have listed as starters on the depth chart that are going to be having impact, and Cam Hayward and Larry Ogunjobi. I guess Keanu Benton, I think he supplanted Ogunjobi and he's in the top two. But either way, you're going to throw DeMarvin Leal in that mix too. It's not just going to be like the top 2 or 3 guys. I think we're going to have a legit 4-man rotation. Throw in Montravius Adams too. Shout out to him. He continues to just be that steady presence, that nose tackle for us. Almost like the Tyson Alualu of the 2017s, 2018s. That's what Montravius Adams gives to us. I think we got a really solid top 5 on this defensive line. Cam Sutton got a pick against his former team, Detroit Lions. Jacoby Windman, I think he got snubbed of a really nice third down stop. The refs end up giving the running back, I forget who it was that was in possession of the ball, but they ended up giving him the first down. He stopped him with like a yard short. Really nice. I guess it wasn't a tackle for loss, but a nice stand up to hold the dude from getting the first down. Refs made the call wrong. Tomlin didn't challenge it. Tomlin missed more challenges again today. Man, like not only that one, but the fumble. Dude throws it to the Lions receiver out in the flat. We tackle him. He loses the ball, and they said he was already down. Clearly wasn't down when you watch the replay and everything. But again, you question, like, who is in control of our challenges? Is it just Tomlin? If it is just Tomlin, it's like, bro, you got to hire someone. But if you're relying on someone that you already have hired, you got to fire that man and get someone else new in there, because we're 0 for 3 in challenges so far this preseason and getting it right. Just ridiculous. We got to shout out Julius Welshkoff. 2 sacks. Looking pretty good, man. A guy that I didn't really think had a chance to make the roster. I still don't think he's going to make the roster, but maybe a guy that sticks around long term here. We release him, and he's chilling on our practice squad for the next year or two. He develops. Who knows? He could be a depth guy behind a TJ Watt, a Herbig, and Highsmith if they stick around. And it's not going to cost us a roster spot either because of the international rules that we have on teams housing an international player. Like Welshkoff isn't hurting us right now on the preseason roster. Like he's not a spot that's taken up, and I don't think he would be a spot taken up on the practice squad roster either. I guess that's the question. Would he be, if we keep him on the 53, would he be taking up a spot, or is it a free spot? Like the whole third quarterback role. Actually, I'm not familiar with. So maybe he is on the main roster. If he doesn't take up a spot, it'd just be like, all right, what does it kill us? At least maybe he could give us some special team snaps here or there and be the 5th edge rusher. Who knows? But yeah, I thought he played well. What are we doing at slot corner? I already asked the question about the kickoff. What are we doing at kickoff? What are we doing at slot corner? Because Beanie Bishop was getting second team reps. I don't think he looked bad out there today. But we got this dude named Graham who was getting the first team reps. Are we really rolling with Graham as our starting slot corner? Like, I think we could be dropping the Snoop meme right now for Graham. I don't know who he is. Have no clue. He didn't look bad, though. I'll give him respect. He didn't look bad when he was out there in the first team. Wasn't getting cooked or anything. But if it's going to be Graham and not Beanie Bishop, does Beanie Bishop make the 53? And if we're actually considering Graham, like, shouldn't we just go out in free agency and bring back Chandon Sullivan? I'd probably rather have Chandon Sullivan than a Graham. Beanie Bishop, I think, at least provides us a little bit more upside. I don't know what to think. Do you guys have any thoughts on the slot cornerback spot right now? No clue. Were we just throwing Beanie out there with the second team, see if he was up for the challenge, like throw him a curveball? He was getting all the first team reps in training camp, got the first team reps when he was available in the first preseason game, obviously sat out the last one. I don't know what to make of it. I have no clue. I don't know what we're going to do at slot corner. I really don't, because we don't have a cover guy. We have safeties we could bring up to play slot corner here and there. A Ryan Watts who could maybe do it on rundowns. Who's going to be our cover slot corner guy? I don't know. I have no clue. I don't really have an answer right now. Maybe we bring back a Chandon Sullivan. We could also sign an Adoree Jackson. But they're not an Adoree Jackson. He's not a slot corner. He's an outside guy. Then you wonder, all right, what do we do? Are we bumping in Dante Jackson? Are we keeping Darius Rush maybe? I think Darius Rush played pretty good today. No clue. Let me go back to offense real quick, though. I think that's all I got to say on defense. First team looked good. Second and third and fourth stringers were pretty terrible, but I don't think that's anything to fret too much about because we're not going to be seeing those guys in the regular season. I wasn't recognizing many of the names out there. And then, with offense, first team, we look really good. But, I want to transition back to offense here. Kyle Allen, you know what, man? Maybe I wasn't familiar with your game. You're making some nice passes down the field. There was a nice connection to Dez Fitzpatrick. There was another one to Jenkins. Almost the same play. Nice sideline ball, 20, 30 yards down the field. I think Jenkins, I know they said it was an incomplete, but they showed the replay again. It almost looked like the Pickens catch from last week where when you slow it down and see, like, wait, did he actually get that final foot in potentially? Did he actually toe tap it? But, Kyle Allen, he doesn't throw a bad ball. I'll give him some respect. He's been looking good as our QB3. I think he's a backup in this league. I think he's a solid QB2. But for us to have him as QB3, I'm not complaining. And then Dez Fitzpatrick, I just mentioned him, but I think he's made a serious case for himself making this roster as the last receiver. I think it's going to come down to him and Quez Watkins. And if you look at the total body of work, Dez Fitzpatrick's been better as a receiver, more consistent as a receiver. And we haven't seen him fumble punts and make boneheaded plays in punt return. Now, Dez Fitzpatrick hasn't been given that opportunity, but we got to witness Quez Watkins be a net negative for this Steelers team via special teams. So, like, when you add it all up there, Dez Fitzpatrick, better receiver, more consistent receiver, then a Quez Watkins, and Quez Watkins making negative plays in special teams. You tell me who makes the team. If we're going to keep 6 receivers, I think they would lean Dez Fitzpatrick at this point. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they like Quez Watkins with the upside and the speed and everything. But that's what I'm thinking right now. Let me read some more of these comments, then I'm going to get up out of here. 0-3 in the preseason. Obviously, this one has a different feel than the first two because of how the first team looked. But maybe this is exactly the vibes we needed going into the regular season. We saw how the team looked when we've gone 3-0 the last 3 preseasons. Maybe 0-3 just means you're serious Super Bowl contender. That's what it might mean. Both last Steel says Allen has a good arm. Yeah, I'm actually surprised because I swear the times I've seen him, he did some spot starts in Carolina. Didn't he do some time with Washington? I don't know. He looked like a more limited Kirk Cousins to me whenever I'd see him out there. But yeah, maybe, I don't know. Maybe he's worked on his arm strength the last couple years in the offseason. I don't know. He's looked pretty decent. I'll give him credit, man. I will. Quan Summer says, why not put Jackson and put Corey on the outside? That's going to hurt you in run situations, but on a 3rd and long or in obvious passing situations, I think that could work out. I don't see anything wrong with that. Actually, that's a good idea. I'm thinking they would do that in dime. I'm sure a dime configuration would be they would have JPJ on the outside. They could have a Corey Trice on the outside, put Jackson on the inside, and then whether you have a Beanie Bishop or whoever our slot corner is on the inside, maybe a Darius Rush. You have that guy as the other inside guy or one of the safeties, Sean Elliott or Casey. I think that's a good idea. That's a good point. Quan Summers thinking slot corner is going to be Beanie. Both last Steel says defense is going to carry this team. I actually think this offense is going to be pretty good. I'm seeing what I need to see from this offense. As weird as it sounds, I know I was man overboard initial reaction for my initial reaction of last week's preseason game. I get that, but you guys heard me a day or two removed. I was like, you know, it wasn't as bad. It really wasn't as bad. I think we're going to be fine with Russ. And then to see them pick it up this game and build that momentum to get some of that chemistry going, to just look competent. Yeah, I saw what I think this offense is going to be pretty good, man. Actually, I think we're going to be playing some pretty good complementary football, and almost to the degree of what we saw the offense and defense was doing late last year with Mason, where the offense was holding their own. We were putting up 30 points, but the defense was kind of lights out too. I think we're going to get similar vibes, man. Like, that's all we need too. That's really all we need. How the offense looked with Mason and the defense to look better actually than what the defense was with Mason, because you think we had all those injuries. Now we're healthy. We got the linebackers in place. We should have even a better defense than what we had at the end of last year, because it was leaky at times, particularly against the Bills in that wild card game. Like, it wasn't optimal. It was one of those things where we're just patching this. We're just getting by. But if we went into another season with this, I don't think we'd be satisfied. And obviously we made the moves that we made this offseason and should have a top 3 to 5 defense. I think that's not being talked about enough. So I'll give you credit for that comment. Like, I think the defense is going to be that elite, but I'm also saying don't sleep on the offense. That's it, man. Shout out to everyone for stopping through. I think the Steelers closed out the preseason in a good fashion here. I guess we would have liked the dub, but the 3rd and the 4th stringers were the guys that cost us the game. It wasn't the first team. So we saw all we really needed to see from the first team here. I got hope. I think the vibes are right for this squad heading into the regular season. So let's get this dub against Atlanta. And again, shout out to you guys for stopping through. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Stay safe out here. Here we go, Steelers. Peace.